as a longtime fan of sci-fi movies and someone who has seen their fair share of time travel narratives, I can appreciate the unique twist that Christopher McQuarrie had initially envisioned for Edge of Tomorrow. Having worked in the film industry myself, I understand the creative process and the challenges that come with it. In an original draft for the film Edge of Tomorrow starring Tom Cruise, there was an additional twist on the time travel element for his character. Before directing the majority of Tom Cruise's films, Christopher McQuarrie had written many movies featuring Cruise. Since 2015's Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, McQuarrie has directed every Mission Impossible movie, also contributing as screenwriter and producer on projects like Top Gun: Maverick. One of their notable collaborations is the sci-fi thriller Edge of Tomorrow, in which Cruise's character Cage finds himself trapped in a time loop after exposure to some unusual alien DNA. Although receiving a favorable critical reception, boasting an impressive 91% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the blockbuster movie of 2014 was considered a financial letdown. Regardless, whispers of a potential sequel, Edge of Tomorrow 2, persist, and the film's popularity continues to swell with time. The intriguing ending and time travel mechanics of Edge of Tomorrow have sparked lively discussions, as some viewers believe the story concludes too neatly. Specifically, in the climax, Cage destroys the Omega alien and saves the world, but he's the sole survivor, recalls the events. And the movie's story kicks into gear when Cage is killed by the Omega, only to become infected with its time-altering blood. This means that each time Cage died by an Edge of Tomorrow, the day would automatically reset. It's only when he is unwittingly given a blood transfusion that he loses this ability. So during the finale, and his comrades only have one shot to find and destroy the Omega. Speaking with Film School Rejects back in 2014, McQuarrie revealed an alternate finale for Edge of Tomorrow that would have made things even more complicated. When Tom loses power and they travel to Paris, he briefs his team about the movie's rules as they enter Paris. He warns them not to kill an enemy, because if they do, they'll find themselves back in this conversation without realizing it. The enemy will then know they're coming and will try to kill them all. As predicted, one of the team members gets separated, encounters an alpha, kills it, and we see the day reset. The villain's perspective is shown at this point. Later, when Tom repeats his warning about the enemies planning to kill them all, the ship is attacked, indicating that the enemy was indeed aware of their arrival. By this ship, 2217 season, there was the strong and Marky. In the movie, you may have felt quite tired from the intense action and suspense. In Edge of Tomorrow, there's a lot of information to digest at first to establish the storyline, but by the end, the goal is crystal clear: either kill the car, Omega, or face death. McQuarrie's original ending is intriguingly grim, but it was inspired by an earlier, grimmer version of the tale. As the movie evolved, the humorous piece, this twist, would have felt jarring and ironic as the climax approached. In most time travel films, there's usually a lot of explanation about how the time travel process functions. Even though Edge of Tomorrow is engaging and fast-paced, it still included scenes where characters explain the workings of Omega blood or the rules governing time travel, which can feel like a video game. The alternate Indians abandoned because it needed additional exposition to make sense, and as McQuarrie stated, viewers were already exhausted by this point. In the third act, viewers are eager for the storyline to culminate. So another reset or explanation feels redundant and tiresome. The climax of Edge of Tomorrow is intense because every death carries weight. There are no more loops or resets. Adding another Omega-initiated mission reset when none of the heroes remember, it would have only complicated a narrative that was already complete at that point. McQuarrie mentioned that he had always envisioned the movie ending with Cage in the helicopter, leaving viewers wondering if the events portrayed truly occurred. However, this conclusion is perplexing, since Cage's character abruptly returns to days prior to his last save point without any justification provided within the story as to why. Although it provides an emotionally resonant closing, it appears that the narrative takes shortcuts to reach this point. McQuarrie's proposed alternate ending might have made the plotline even more complex and difficult to follow. One of the reasons Cruise and McQuarrie's films tend to connect with viewers is that they work hard to keep audiences emotionally invested. They would rather have this story as made emotional as opposed to logical sense, and having Edge of Tomorrow close with mankind defeating the aliens and Cage reuniting with Emily Blunt's Rita is a crowd-pleasing way to cap off things off. This is despite the myriad plot holes it opens up, and the introduction of an additional time loop late into the third act would have only raised further questions. In Edge of Tomorrow, while the current ending might not be completely satisfying, screenwriter McQuarrie believes that a more severe finale wouldn't have fit either. The ending also implies that a potential sequel, since Cage still carries some Omega blood within him. Whether a follow-up materializes is uncertain.